So look, enough from me. Now we get to the favorite part of today's call. And I am going to see if our special guest is here, James from Illinois. Let me go full screen. Okay, hold on a second. There we go. Hey, James, thank you so much for joining me on the call here tonight. Really appreciate it. James, you're known as the miracle man in your local, in your neighborhood, and I think after people hear your amazing story here tonight, they'll understand why that is so. But James, could you tell us a little bit, kind of what your life was like before ASEA? I know you got to go back a little bit in time to explain, but kind of what your life was like before ASEA, and then what your experience has been using this amazing technology.
Well, before ASEA, I worked between 60 to 70 hours a week at a small factory here in town on set up screw machines and stuff. Made a lot of government work and stuff on the screw machines. And so I was quite active, and I would do a lot of walking and exercise bikes and stuff. And then in my late 20s, early 30s, I went for a checkup and had a diagnosis of a neurological condition. And so I thought, okay, that was a foul ball. So then, as time progressed, I started getting tired, and then my tremors started, and it was hard to manipulate and stuff. So I got along pretty good until the year 1989. That was a rough year. That's when everything came to a head. I would usually go in for a 10-day treatment, and of course our son, his birthday happened to be on Halloween, and so I was due for a treatment in November, so I had it scheduled to be in and out home for the birthday party for his four-year-old. Well, I didn't make it. The 10 days ended up 18 days. I walked into the hospital and I came out in a wheelchair. And I've been in the wheelchair ever since. It was quite hard for our young family because I couldn't participate with the kids when the kids were doing anything at school because school wasn't handicapped. And if I wanted to spend time with the kids, I'd have to crawl up on my hands and knees up. If I wanted to get anywhere in the house, I had to crawl up the steps and slide down. And my daughter vaguely remembers me when she was young of walking, but my son had never seen me walk.
Wow.
So it got in the wheelchair up until then. I got to the computer became my friend because I was in the wheelchair from the time I'd get up to the time I went to bed. And so I taught on the computer how to make web pages and HTML a lot. And in the meantime, I developed some friends and a couple back east. About 2011 or so, in the middle, they started telling me about this product. It just came out. And I said, oh, yeah, getting great results. You ought to try it. And one fellow would say, one best thing about it, Jim, no side effects. And I would go, yeah, right. I said, there's not a product made, drug or anything else on the market that didn't have side effects. So we let it go by. And in the meantime, back in April of 2012, one Sunday night, we were on Skype, And he asked how I was doing. And I said, well, I was due to go for a bunch of tests because I was having developed severe pain and tremors in my right arm. Of course, I'm right-handed. And oh gosh, 10 minutes went by and I didn't hear anything. I said, are you still there? And he came back on and says, it's time. I said, time. Yes, it's time for you to get the product.
Yeah.
And of course, I knew nobody around here on the product or anything about the product. So I talked it over with the wife and I said, okay. So I ordered it on a Sunday night. I got the product on a Wednesday. I started taking the 2 and 2. By Friday, I was able to stand up on my wheelchair and move around to the back and started pushing it around the house. And then I started crawling down, sliding down the basement steps to a wheelchair in the basement to get on my exercise bike. And before I could just do barely 10 minutes. But when I started the ASEA, I could do an hour and climb off, come crawl back up and have breakfast. And then lunchtime, and after lunch, I'd do the same thing. I was able to do the exercise bike an hour before breakfast, an hour after lunch, and an hour after supper. I was getting along real good.
Amazing.
So,
And that was just I mean, literally you were like 3 or 4 days on the product. And so here
right.
you are, I mean, sitting in a wheelchair since, if we do the math, roughly it's 20 years in this wheelchair, things getting worse. And this product got delivered, and in 3 days, you're noticing some significant changes in your mobility.
So it was 6 weeks to the very day I started this year. I had to go for my annual checkup. At that time, I had to see 3 doctors. One was a heart doctor, and he was the first one I saw because I have a heart condition that kind of runs in the family. And so I walked in and I told him what I was doing. I said, I'm taking all yours. I call it junk at that time. But I said, I started taking this natural product twice a day. And I had no side effects, and I've been doing real good. So I had put the flyer down on his desk. He looked at it and he sloughed it back to me. He said, Jim, that's just ordinary salt water. Oh, okay. Salt water. Okay, doc. But I said, do you know anything about the redox molecule? Yeah, we had to study that a little bit. I said, okay. So he's going along with the exam. And I said, wait a minute, doc. I said, you said that's ordinary salt water. I've been taking it twice a day now for 6 weeks, along with your other medicine. My blood pressure should be sky high, and my cholesterol should be out of sight. And I'd be going down to my primary care doctor to up my medicine, because at that time I was on 5 meds. Oh, definitely. I said, okay. I had my blood work drawn. And then I said, you guys have taken my blood pressure twice today. And I said, look at the figures and give me the numbers. And I don't want no triglycerides, no nothing. I just want the number. So he looked again. He started again. I said, doc, cut the crap. Just the number. Well, he said, your blood pressure is good.
Yeah.
I would say pretty good, almost perfect. I said, oh, okay. And the other no, fine. Oh, I said, oh, that's right. Salt water.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So then he picked up the flyer and left the room. He came back. He stood right in front of me. And he said, Jim, you are looking a lot sharper. You're talking a lot clearer. And you're doing terrific. And I don't want to see you for 18 months. I'll go along with that. I haven't seen him since.
Yeah.
So the next day was my neurologist, and he had just put me on a new medication. And I told him what I was doing. I showed him the pamphlet. And I showed him I'd get up and get out of the chair. And I said, look, he said, well, natural products are good, but they could be just a tad expensive, Jim. So be careful. I said, okay. So I said to him, I said, well, doc, I'll give you a mathematical quiz. The new prescription he gave me for all my pain and stuff, I could only take 3 tablets. And after the third one, I couldn't walk, I couldn't eat, I couldn't talk, I couldn't do anything. And, but I've been on this product now for going on 7 weeks and only taken 2 and 2. And for the price of that one prescription, I can get 2 cases of that to my house, and it lasts me over 2 months.
Mm.
Oh, you better keep taking it, Jim. So he's my neurologist, and I haven't seen him going on 4 years.
Yeah. So James, you were telling me that now people are driving past your house. You'll be out there cutting the grass.
I started to, after my checkups and stuff, I'd come home and I'd push the wheelchair around the block, and I'd go out and started mowing my yard, pushing it. And I'll tell you, I never seen so many people have, I call it whiplash. They would ride around, go down the street. They would turn around 4 times before they hit the end of the block. And some of them would drive around my block 6 times to watch me mow my yard. And if I was out walking with pushing the wheelchair.
Yeah.
So and then my primary care doctor, the first question I get, I see him twice a year. Are you on the product? I said, yep, look at the figures. And not this last time, but the time before, he sat down and he looked me in the eye and he said, Jim, do you realize how far you have come from the condition you were when I first saw you to what you are now today? And he's the one that can nickname me the Miracle Man.
Yeah.
And so I do everything now that I normally could do before with the help of a rollator, and I wore out 4 of them. But I did everybody said, well, did you do your own test? Well, yeah, I did. About 2017, we had to fly the wife over to Ohio to see a pulmonologist because she worked at a popcorn factory. And at that time, I didn't know anything about the pouches, but I was told I couldn't take my 32-ounce bottle of carry on. I said, okay. So we left on a Thursday morning. I took 8 ounces before we left. And they flew us to Ohio. We got there, stayed over. She did her treatment. We got back to the airport, and I started to fidget it a little bit there in Ohio. And my wife said, what's the problem? I said, well, if that plane don't hurry up and get here, I ain't walking.
Mm.
My legs were starting to turn to jelly. So she went up and told the girl at the desk. They helped me get on the plane, and we had to do another stop. And the crew was with me 100%. They helped me on and off the plane. We got back to Chicago, and they put me in a wheelchair. We wheeled down to get picked up, the guy who brought me. He got out of the car. He took one look at me in the wheelchair and he said, how am I ever going to get you home? In the home. And the wife said, just wait. When you get home, I'll get the wheelchair. We'll get him out. We got home at 11:30 at night on a Friday night. I got into the house. I went out. I took 4 ounces of the ASEA. I went in and I cleaned up. I came out. I took 2 more ounces of ASEA. I went to bed. I got up at 5 o'clock Saturday morning. I took another 2 ounces and went to put my coat on. And the wife comes out, where are you going? I said, I'm going over to pick up the senior paper, walk over and pick up the senior papers. When I come back, I'll take another 2 doses and I'll have breakfast and we'll go out to the farmer's market. Yeah. You couldn't walk Friday night. I said, yeah. Well, I got my ASEA in. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
So, and I've been going, not as fast as I'd like to, but I've been going every day. And usually when I go for a walk, I'd walk about 4 or 5 miles after lunch around town and come back. And I wouldn't be out of breath. I'd be, let's go again.
James, it's absolutely an incredible story. What an amazing journey, and to have spent so long with the challenges with really no solution in sight, and then the missing link, the signaling, the communication comes into your life with these molecules, and the transformation is just absolutely astonishing. And for your doctors to turn around and say, you are the miracle man, is amazing. I do need to stress to everybody, of course, that ASEA is not a treatment or cure for any disease or medical condition. We certainly do not want to imply that. We are simply, for the first time ever, being able to give our bodies a resource, a signaling resource. And what our bodies decide to do with that resource is totally up to our bodies. But obviously, James, your body decided to put these amazing little molecules to work. So James, thank you so much for sharing your story with us here tonight. It truly is remarkable. And I really appreciate you giving up some time here. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alan, for having me. I appreciate, and thank Virtus and Tyler for me, because without them, I would not be what I'm doing today.
Yeah, I love it. We'll definitely do that. Okay. Thank you, James.